4 years ago, this morning's guest would have been writing about I-73. Today, she's helping to make it happen. Part 2 of Debbie Harwell's coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Reflections, assisted living facility in Carolina Forest, across the way from Carolina Forest Elementary School and behind Horry County State Bank. Happy Valentine's. We're focused on part 2 of Debbie Harwell. Good morning, Debbie, and the founding of the Myrtle Herald.
Out of this.
And happy Valentine's Day to you.
You
all have some big plans tonight. I think you said yesterday I didn't bring any on the set. We had a little coffee here. Oh, that's right, you should. I'd like that, yes. Roses are on the way at 7 a.m., so hopefully folks aren't too deep into a Valentine's. So much enjoyed getting into the Herald yesterday and seeing some of these early issues. Isn't this exciting for you to think all this was happening out of your home office right in the beginning?
Like I said, I started looking at the earlier papers, and I remembered what I was thinking and how I wanted it to be, and the early writers, and even the page that we're looking at right now, which has School Scoop by Patty Hilton.
Patty Hilton, I love it. She was out of the
tax bill actually brought that about. I thought, you know, we're paying all these taxes to schools and everything, but they don't get any publicity. What are they doing over there? Right. Patty Hilton was on the school board, and she did the most marvelous job. We had the best coverage of anybody, anywhere, on what the schools were doing.
I love it.
Gave them credit for a lot of the programs that they had going. And she did a tremendous job for years.
For viewers who weren't with us yesterday, you are Debbie Harwell. You founded the Myrtle Beach Herald. Obviously, you were the original owner, the original publisher.
Yes.
And it was a very exciting time. It had happened the first issue in April of '94, and then highlighting the big launch was going to be May 12th, I think, of '94. But I think you mentioned you all formed the company in '93 to try to get the ball rolling to set things up. So you've been thinking about the Herald for a long time, Debbie.
Well, I wanted to do something, and I told you yesterday, I was at home in Plantation Point. I loved work. I just loved, I like working.
Yeah.
And so I thought, what can I do to where I would still have some of my own time if I need to restructure my hours? Right. And the only thing I really knew, I thought, it's got to be something that I know about. I know newspaper.
Right,
because I'd worked at a number of different newspapers.
Even early on, Gardner-Webb and
I was public relations director for Gardner-Webb College for 5 years, but that's what I did there. I assisted them with their school newspaper, the annual. I worked with all the newspapers, the radio stations, the TV stations. So I really always worked with the media in some respect.
What is it about print that you like, Debbie? Obviously, we're on TV now. This is sight, sound, and motion. What is it about? Is it something about touching?
I love
this paper. I see some ink on your hands from having flipped through here this morning.
You know, we changed the ink changed as the years went on. They came up with a smudge-proof ink for newspapers.
Over time.
But in the very beginning, it was a really dirty business, and the newspaper ink would get on you. But
what was it? I mean, what is it about print? It's touching.
You can pick it up, and you can look at it, and you can drink half a cup of coffee, and get up and go. Pour yourself a full cup and come back and read the rest of the article, or read it tonight when you come home.
You got it.
It's still there.
You can't do that, obviously, with TV. Now, for this show, for instance, your family, your son, and I believe he's in the Triangle, and your grandchildren, your daughter-in-law, can go on to CarolinaPeople.com this Friday,
and I love
tomorrow, and be able to watch these interviews after they air. But other than that, for TV shows, I mean, if he's not here right now in our 8-county market, he's not able to catch you on TV.
That's why the weekly newspaper is usually a good buy with advertising, because it has a shelf life that is long, at least a week long.
Oh, yeah.
And you usually have at least 4 readers for every newspaper, because when they get through it, they lay it around and somebody else picks it up to read it.
Give it to a friend and family member, unlike the daily. And, of course, we both are, I'm sure, subscribed to dailies or familiar with dailies.
It's 2 totally different animals.
Absolutely. You can't keep it for the next day. I mean, you really need to get through it.
And a lot of times the weekly newspaper can get into stories on a more personal level, because people will talk to them more freely than they probably would talk to a larger newspaper.
That's a great point.
Just the nature of the business.
I saw in some stories Paul Gable had done recently about some changes that were happening at a local county authority, just some of the quotes he was getting from county council members and otherwise who you don't see anywhere else, or some other stories, even Representative Thad Vyers from the Soxty area, some of the quotes that he gives to Tom and to Paul that you don't see anywhere else. I mean, these guys, whether it's Steve or Paul or Tom, are getting pieces.
They are.
Getting quotes out of people. And, of course, there's not a churn and burn with young reporters, not, again, to take anything away from other papers, but where there's, people are moving up the ladder. Right here, you either start here and stay here, or ultimately you go somewhere else.
Well, Steve moved to town, and he was doing a radio program, and I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I became his fill-in. And so as a result, I said, well, why don't you write a column for the newspaper?
Right.
And I think Steve's probably been around for about 10 years
with
the newspaper or so. And everybody, Charlene's been there.
Charlene's wing,
12, 13 years.
Right. We love Charlene. And Hilda wrote for you at one point.
Hilda wrote for us a social column, and Hilda was everywhere with the camera for a social column. Hilda Carter.
She is still everywhere. And of course, this weekend is the Miss Myrtle Beach and Miss Paradise Resort pageant at the Carolina Opry.
And that's been Hilda's life. She's big into the pageants.
She's amazing with pageants, and she is really Calvin Gilmore and this Ron Barber up there at Paradise Resort have wrapped around to launch it. And Billy Alford really went out of his way to lock up some tremendous sponsors for this Sunday night's event. It's a full-day affair. If you don't have tickets yet, Debbie, they're still selling them.
Features. He's like the third
Billy
or fourth paper.
Is that
almost didn't recognize him. He looks like he's a teenager.
Oh, yeah, let's look at that. We want to hold that up.
Well,
Billy
I'm not
Alford
sure where I found it. I'll have to look
as a
for
teenager.
It
I love it.
First
one of those,
ones,
surely in the first year.
Yeah.
And he's been a great friend of the Herald. Yeah.
He has been for years and years and years, since the very beginning.
Yeah, he and Danny both, I'm sure. We see him, Neil Johnson Buick GMC truck. I don't see Neil pictured there, though. He has his sales manager, his sales associate.
He would put the sales manager.
He would never get out in front like that. Yeah, in the Herald.
Yeah, and there was a lot of politics going on. We got pretty heavy into politics, and we tried our absolute best, not to be on the Democratic side or the Republican side. We tried to cover it down the middle. It's very difficult sometimes to actually convince the public that you are down the middle in this newspaper.
Right.
It is because when an article runs one week, it's you're on that side. The next week, you're on the other side.
Oh yeah. Fortunately, we have Steve and Paul Gable, so we are we even it up. And we don't know where Tom falls. He claims to have been a Democrat at some point. He covers everything.
But there's the picture of Billy Alford.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, he's wearing a T-shirt. He does look like a kid. Yeah, I love a challenge. Is the quote. Billy Alford won't like this article. I promised him I wouldn't make him sound like royalty. Sorry, Billy. This may come darn close. I like that. We'll have to tell Julie and Danny about that. That's August 18th, 1994.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Debbie.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting. There's been a group of people at the beach that were here 30 years ago.
Sure.
And many remain here.
Oh, yeah.
And we all know who we are, and we can pick up the phone and call each other. If we haven't talked to each other in a couple of years, we can still do it.
Speaking of that, what year did you come down, Debbie? You've been down here a good while.
I think I came in 81.
Wow, that long. Almost 30 years,
yeah. It's been a long time.
That's amazing.
It's been a long time.
You've kept your youth. That's
incredible. When I came to the beach was where I came to vacation.
Growing up,
I grew up in Shelby, North Carolina.
Right.
I was let's see. I worked at the newspaper in Shelby.
Right.
And I loved working at the newspaper in Shelby. I just loved it. I knew I wanted to be a newspaper reporter when I was in high school. I was in the 11th grade. And I was taking the advanced English class so I could hang out with the 12th graders.
Right. Yeah.
But what I couldn't decide what I wanted for a career. And I thought, what can I do? Because I want to do everything. I want to experience it all. I want to do everything.
I love it.
But what career can you do that in?
Right.
You can do that being a newspaper reporter. I've done everything from being able to interview Roy Rogers to to big politicians, little politicians. Jamie Farr with MASH, the ending episode.
Right, sure.
I interviewed Jamie right before the last episode of MASH. Just had the opportunity to fly little jets and do everything.
I mean,
when you're a reporter, if you're creative, the possibilities are pretty endless. And I knew I always wanted to do that. So that's what I set out to do.
Get more people interested in journalism just because of that. I mean, it really is. As long as you've got an editor who will support you getting out and doing those kind of stories. Obviously, if you're the owner of a paper, you can get out and do a little more. But in Shelby, you started the ground floor and moved on up. Yeah.
But it was just, I just found it a fascinating career.
Right.
And so I was at the newspaper, and newspapers did not pay much. They were
really? Wow.
And so I thought, well, maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should teach school, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I can write a little column for the newspaper, still stay in it. Well, I went back and got my teaching degree, and the college at Gardner-Webb,
right.
And the college wouldn't let me go. They retained me as their public relations officer, where I stayed for 5 years.
Get down.
And I enjoyed that because I was still with the media. I was still writing the press releases.
Right.
You know, I got to be. We brought a lot of people in, like Jack Kemp. You know, politicians.
Wow.
We just lots of people that I was able to entertain and get to know and hear some philosophies. I really enjoyed that phase of my life. And then I was writing press releases for a company that did films.
Right.
And they had gotten larger, and they hired me full-time, and my husband was working over there, so it worked out really well. Well, the end of the story is that they transferred me to Myrtle Beach to open up an office.
Is that right?
They didn't make it, and I did. So I stayed.
The company didn't make it, but you did.
I did.
Yes.
So I stayed, and so I supplied some talent for the De Loretta studio, which I knew them through the film industry and helped them with other things. And so I was supplying talent, doing things like that, got into the video business.
Right.
And worked with Cox Cable
before
it became Time Warner.
Right. Years ago.
And I mean, just everything that I've done has just touched the media. And now, currently, I have, through all the history of the newspaper, I have a company called Adobe Palm Communications.
How did you come up with that name, Debbie? I think you've told me that story. We got a couple of minutes.
It's pretty interesting. That was the company that actually started the newspaper.
Back in '93.
I was in my office at my home, which was an adobe house surrounded by palm trees.
They're in Plantation.
And I thought, what can I name the house? And I thought, well, let's name it Adobe Palm. And I never got the sign outside, but when I needed a corporation to open up a newspaper, that's what I opened it up with.
Right.
Well, going forward many years, I still had that corporation on the shelf after I did an asset sale of the newspaper, and I started doing some public relations for engineering firms that worked with the South Carolina Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. And so basically I do public input, work with the media on bridges, roads, airports.
So I-73 is going to happen, Debbie. Is it for real?
I-73's been my baby.
Yeah, I know, another baby. So it's no longer the Herald. You and Brad and Alan and so many folks that are working nonstop to make I-73. But is it going to happen?
It's going to happen.
It's really going to open?
It's going to happen.
From Saint Saint Marie?
Today is Valentine's Day.
Yeah, right.
On Thursday.
Yes, it is.
And tomorrow there's a huge announcement about I-73.
Wow.
We're signing what they call the Record of Decision, which means that all of the paperwork is done. All of the preliminary environmental impact studies have been done, which is what I've been working on, environmental impact studies.
Right.
And they've all been done.
Is that just in South Carolina or from soup to nuts?
That is just in South Carolina.
Okay, sure.
We have completed our part in South Carolina.
That's tremendous.